This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
I think what's appreciated on both sides of that, right, is the person she was emailing was like, hey, thanks for the notification that this is a concern of yours, right? Like, as a supervisor manager, it's like saying like, okay, I'd rather know this now than get to Thanksgiving and you bail on me, right?
I looked at it. I told her, I said, if you send this email, that's as good as saying, I don't want the job.
Yeah, but that is, I'll say this like out loud, this is professional hazing that millennials and Gen Xers were sold, was like, you don't question authority because you will get fired. Like, we were told that so much growing up. And I actually really appreciate that Gen Z is like, I'm gonna shoot my shot. Like, worst case is you say no. Like, the worst case was that your daughter
get another job.
Said no.
I need to apologize.
And she stayed with her current job that she didn't really love, but was still employed.
Hey, this is William Tincup and Ryan Leary. You are listening, hopefully watching, the You Should Know podcast. We actually have someone that's on the podcast network, Meghan Grace, has her own show, Gen Z. It's fantastic. She's fantastic. But before we do that, Ryan, how are you doing?
I am splendid, and I'm happy to have Meghan on because, Meghan, this is super weird, and I'm just going to say it. I love your artwork.
Oh, thank you.
Your show artwork.
Oh, I was like, you mean the sunflower and the cat? Yeah, it's great.
I
like that too. Yeah.
I don't know why. I love
pops.
it. Does it just looks good and it says it all? So
I appreciate
kudos.
that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Probably the weirdest. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, people have said way weirder stuff to me. That's like not. That's like a really nice compliment. I actually do all of my graphic design. Like, I keep it in house because I learned how to graphic design in high school, and I didn't realize that could actually be like a career you could do.
Yeah.
And then honestly, when Canva came back around, or when Canva came out, I was able to pick it back up, and I was like an early Canva adopter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a little passion of mine. So that really does mean a lot to me because I do all of the artwork. Like, anything you see that comes out of my shop, like, is me.
You're getting into the font choices and kerning and all kinds of fun stuff.
I love a brand kit, things like that.
Oh, well, then we need to talk because we need some new artwork.
100%.
It'd take me time, but I have some really great designers too that I know in the world. If it's not me.
Thank you, but no, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the topic of the show isn't necessarily that you have a show and that you're on the Work to Find podcast network. It's about your new book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have a copy. Do you have a copy?
I do. Yeah.
Could
right
you pull
here.
it up?
I do. Yeah. Generations in the World of Work came out earlier this year. It kind of came out at the beginning of the year where like nothing was really happening in the world, right? Like, we weren't like changing administrations, starting a new year with resolutions, going back to school. So it was
none of that.
College football playoffs.
Right.
None things would take people's attention away. Yeah.
Right. So luckily with it coming out earlier this year, we've been able to kind of like spend some time with it in the sun a little bit, I would say longer than we normally would, just because we've had some time to get it out in the world. But we're really excited to have it out. It's been a project that we've been working on, about a year and a half. From our study that we did that influenced the book to writing, which is a whole process and a half. And then certainly the whole publication process is the whole thing as well.
This is on Amazon. So and everywhere else, but you can get it on Amazon.
Available on Amazon, also available through our publisher, Routledge. And I'm happy to share a code. We have a discount code that's usable at Routledge. But they were great partners and being able to bring this one to life. And it's our second book that we've published with Routledge.
Cool.
What we love is they kind of let us mostly do whatever we want. And they, they keep us in check, but they're really good for being on the more research side of things, letting us be creative, but also compelling. That's something that we don't really get to do in research writing very often. We're talking about social sciences is like, make it as sexy as you possibly can. Coming from two academics, my co-author, Yeah, Dr. Corey C. Miller and I both are academically trained, but we're big believers in making data relevant and useful. And sometimes academic trained data is not always the most digestible.
Yeah.
So we love that we're able to produce work that allows people, whether it's at work or understanding other humans, to use data to like anchor their assumptions and then also like know what the data actually means without being overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. So why don't we jump into the book? Take us through the book and give us the story here.
What do we learn?
So this is actually a book that we did not plan to write at the time we were planning to write it. But Corey and I joke that much of our generational journey has been very unplanned. It's like a series of Bob Ross happy accidents where we just be like, oops, here we are.
Tree.
Here, just add a bird. Like, and
Side note, the Bob Ross Chia Pet does not work, at least in this house.
Okay.
We tried it. One of the girls got it for Christmas. It didn't work.
0 out of 10 endorsement. That's what we've said for like 10 years is just like it's our Bob Ross happy accident that keeps unfolding in a good way. We actually had someone come to us and say, hey, we really think there needs to be something that's a little driven by research about generations in the workplace, because we've got 4 generations that are really squarely in the workplace. They're different, or like keen observation, yes. And they kind of knew that we're willing to put in the work to do the survey work and understanding people, but then we blend a lot of our research with a ton of other studies that are done. I want to say that this book has at least over 150 other cited sources.
Wow.
We triangulate everything that we find with other people doing the work. So like, we're big fans of the Pew Research Center. We love the Census Bureau, like
Gallup in there.
Gallup, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Like we're all friends in the sense that like I follow their stuff closely. So it was the book we didn't plan to write, and then we did, and we love it. And it really aligns with the mission that we have with our nonprofit, which is making sure that generations can foster collaboration with one another. And that's really the goal. Like what's covered in this book is everything from mindsets that people of different generations bring to work, all the way through how they can thrive, whether that's career planning, what they need to learn and lead appropriately and effectively, how they work well with others, how they build relationships. We look at well-being at work, but we try to follow this, what would be kind of like a typical career life cycle or life phase, career development life cycle, and exploring each generation and how they're not only at different phases of life right now, and so that's manifesting differently in their motivation, but also how their specific generational cohort plays a role in that. So being a baby boomer that is nearing retirement or potentially thinking of a second like retirement career, you know, like the golden career after your long career, feels very different than people maybe 25, 30 years ago.
My oldest brother is in that category.
Yeah. So. And it's just a different, like looking at retirement and preparing for retirement is different today than it was 50 years ago. Same with entering the industry, entering the workforce like many in Gen Z are right now. Today is just so different than it was 20, 10, even 5 years ago. So it was a really interesting book to write. We were able to explore more generations than we typically do. We've lived a lot with Gen Z as they've been growing up, but it felt right because Gen Z is now our youngest like entry level employees. And up until this point, they've mostly been in environments that are designed for them and their peers. And this is the first time they're in a space where they, for lack of better words, have to play nice with 3 other generations and learn those lessons. Yes, we're all hanging out together.
And how's that working out?
It depends on who you ask, really. It depends on who you ask. And it depends deeply on the organization. It depends on the team. And everyone knows, it depends on who your manager is. 100%. Realistically, like you could work at the best company in the world with the worst manager. And it really just depends on who your people manager is. But I think that what we learned through this is every generation certainly sees their own cohort more favorably. They feel like they've got some kinship with maybe 1 or 2 other cohorts. And then they don't vibe with 1 or 2 other cohorts. Like there's just a funny little mix that goes on in there.
I've said this on stage before about generations because I studied millennials 100 years ago. And one of the things that I noticed about them in the early stage career for them is they'd ask the question that I wouldn't ask. They asked the question, "What's next?" Which was really about internal mobility. Like, okay, yeah, I get the bit, I understand, but what's after that? Which I was I was jealous, actually. I was jealous of that bit. But one of the things I would say on stage is like generations are like waves on a beach. That's all they are. They have nuances that are very specific to them. But once we get into what are we at? Alpha? Yeah, we're at alpha and beta. So we'll have the other generations after that. It's just another wave. And now, again, nuanced, but it's just another wave on the beach.
Yeah, and I love that you use that. I use a wave in a very different way when I talk with crowds as well.
Bring it. Okay.
Well, mine's a little bit more aggressive than yours. But we'll get to that in a second. But you're absolutely right. Like,
don't often hear that.
Wow.
The wave on the beach is is just human development cycles, right?
Yeah.
So we call it in my side of the world, especially working a lot with younger populations and like youth development and college age students. I always joke about the 19-year-old brain. The human 19-year-old brain has been hardwired the same way since the cave people.
Right.
We might have changed a little bit, but like the 19-year-old brain is set up to do a few things. Understand the world around them with autonomy, learn how to appropriately make relationships and friends, and then kind of just like sort of figure out how to navigate what this world is beyond their like immediate family. That's it.
Yes.
And so whether
there is a difference between male and female prefrontal cortex, right? I mean, that's science. I'm not just making fun of men.
No.
Like all my nieces are about at that age. I'm like, don't marry a guy that's under 30. Let them get to where they're ish developed, and then you'll know what you have. And then if you like what you have, that's fine.
And that's specifically not the men being under 30, but that's why we study generations, or like deep generational theorists study generations or begin to study generations between the ages of 18 and up to when they're 26, when we're really trying to figure out what is going to be like the personality of this generation. For Gen Z, the majority of them are kind of like already approaching that 18-year-old age. And so we feel really good about where they're at and where they're coming. And people are like, but what about Gen Alpha? I was like, call me when they can vote. They certainly do not have the ability to have their own pure personality right now. They're more or less just saying things that their parents are telling them. No, they just, it's not how their brain is set up just yet. And so that is that wave on the beach that you keep talking about, is just how cohorts turn over. The 19-year-old brain in 2025 was still trying to grapple with the same general crises, as we call them in identity development,
65
as 1925. So those two 19-year-olds, they're still trying to make friends, figure out the world, move out of their parents' house successfully. Like that is what they're supposed to do.
We haven't evolved.
We
not really.
That much. No.
As much as mentioned, we haven't.
Welcome to The Human Role, your go-to podcast where HR and payroll collide with innovation. I'm your host, Tiana Neal, and every month I'm diving deep with industry experts and change makers, bringing you real talk insights, practical tips, and fresh takes you won't hear anywhere else. Whether you're a leader, practitioner, or just curious about the latest HR and payroll trends, I've got you covered. Ready to roll with the best? Tune in for fresh perspectives, actionable tips, and the knowledge you need to roll forward with confidence. Subscribe now and let's transform the way you work.
You mentioned a few minutes back, you mentioned in the workplace, generations interact differently and have different relationships with different generations. Where's the trend line? So is it Gen Z with millennial, or is it boomer with millennial? Who's getting along and who's not?
I wouldn't say they're not getting along as much as they don't see each other as like, I wouldn't say peers, but like immediate teammates. So Gen Z and millennials have a lot of overlap in workplace priorities. They have a lot of overlap in some of their motivation to work and then what they want out of a company. So they're a little bit more aligned in like their style of work. Gen X gets along with everyone. So good job to them. That's like one of my favorite findings, is that Gen X is like the quiet popular girl that everyone likes. It's
Gen
like,
X is what years again?
That's me.
Yeah, it's going to be 1965 through 1980.
That's us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in it.
There's
you're
this
late, but yes.
Late adaptability that like they just have seen, and I really attribute it to, they've seen both the analog and the digital world.
Right.
And just a sheer level of independence. Like I could go on and on about Gen X, but like internally, I'm like, yeah, they're the quiet popular girl. Like,
tell us how great
them.
we are. Come on,
dude. Yeah, you're great.
Let's
keep
spend 20 minutes on Gen X. No,
just on Gen X.
Just
on Gen X.
Yeah.
And then it's not that people don't get along with baby boomers. It's they're really, in some cases, the outlier of the perspective they're bringing into work, mostly because predominantly their workplace was analog. It was very rarely digital. It was very rarely international. Like it was a small percentage. And it's not that they're not down for that, but they've spent more time in those in-person spaces and getting work done in a very different way. Ironically, there is a weird overlap in motivation with baby boomers and Gen X or Gen Z. So we saw some just like weird blips throughout our research where like there was some perspective overlap between baby boomers and Gen Zers. Yeah.
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
They want to play golf, and Gen Z wants to do whatever Gen Z wants to do, volunteer or microbrews or whatever.
It's this thing that like I think when we think about like time is such an interesting way to measure motivation. Gen Z is very like protective of like, hey, you paid me to work till 5. I'm out of here at 5. Please don't call me after 5. This is called the boundary. And they're doing that at like 24, 25, which is flabbergasting to older generations. But baby boomers,
I love it,
have only done that because really at 5, everyone left the office and went home. And there was no way to take work home with you. Like it's pretty rare. And they've always kind of had that workplace boundary. And so we do see this weird, like, if you looked at it from the outside, they couldn't be two more different generations, but there's some things where they are weirdly the same. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That is a nugget. That is
really
nugget
interesting.
Right there. That's, I think, and I get it. Like now it clicks for me that they would look at work as differently than millennials and Gen X is work was put on a pedestal and then life was prioritized after work. And with those two generations, it seems like, I work, but my lifestyle is more important than work. I work when I'm in it. I'll do my job and I'll do it well and all that other stuff. But no, my lifestyle is more important. Yeah. Which I think is great. I think that's healthy.
It's very healthy. Yeah, it's very healthy. But I also think baby boomers they were also the kind of the first generation where we learned what like a workaholic was.
Oh,
you remember that they were the first generation of like late stage modern capitalism, but they were reaping all the benefits of it, right? So like you work hard, you get paid, you get a pension, you get employee benefits, you get X, Y, and Z. And so they were also our first like truly notable workaholic generation to date. And I think that boundary of like, well, I'm going to leave at 5 was much more like it was the cultural practice of an entire office that we just like, we left at 5.
I wonder what the greatest generation, I wonder what they were like.
We'll never know. They're mostly gone. No, they were great. They were wonderful. It's in the name. It's
because of all the stuff that they had to go through.
Yeah. It's my grandma was part of the greatest generation. So I tried to like ask her a lot of questions before she passed. And this is like a Grandma Jane quote that'll live in infamy that I talk about all the time where I'm like, Grandma, what was it like being raised during the Great Depression? She goes, Megan, despite the name, it wasn't really all that great.
No. There's all these names that have come up since COVID. The great whatever. I'm like, let's not use the word. We're not using great in there.
Wasn't really all that great. No. Yeah. It's an interesting modgepodge of like how generations also like just familially and hang out next to each other, and we inherit some stuff from different generations, but then there's things that are just completely like, where did this come from?
You know who didn't notice that the Great Depression went on? It's for both of you. Do you have any idea who absolutely had no idea that it went on?
You're holding us in suspense here.
Yeah.
No. all native people, all reservations, folks, because they were already poor. So like the fact that you wouldn't have something, that they already didn't have stuff.
It didn't matter.
Yeah. So like people would come through, my dad would tell me stories, people would come through the res and they'd be looking for work. I mean, everybody else is looking for work. They've been looking for work since they've been on the res. So they've learned self-sufficiency. They've learned all this other stuff. So they had no idea. Years later, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what that was. All these white people coming through the res. Yeah, we get it. The book's audience. Give me an idea of the persona that y'all were trying to reach.
So we were trying to reach kind of like three distinct audiences. One being those who have the ability to influence workplace environments and culture. So senior leaders, HR professionals, the people that I think have the ability to wave a wand and actually make change happen. And so if they can read that and say, maybe we do need to adapt some policies to be better fit for our people, right? Or we can implement a program that's going to support our teams in XYZ way. So that was one group. The second group was managers and supervisors. And we try to we weave in strategies throughout the book that are designed again for like those high level leaders that have the magic wand level leadership, the managers and supervisors, that there are things that you can adopt without needing to go request budget for, even just changing the way that you structure your weekly check-in with someone or your one-on-one with someone. And then the employees and individuals themselves. So things that people can do on a peer-to-peer basis or
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Colleague to colleague basis. So it's not necessarily it's hands off for new employees. No, an entry level employee could pick this up and say, now I understand why older generations act differently than me.
Why do they keep sending me email? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the whole point, is bringing everyone together, but being intentional of framing this is what's happening. Here's all the data and the research that's telling us what's happening. Here's what you can do. And maybe you're coming at it from a few different lenses. And that's pretty much how we walk through each kind of topic within each chapter is, this is interesting, and then here's what you can do about it.
I love that.
What's the trick? And I don't know that there's an answer to this, or an easy answer, I should say, Megan. But what's the trick for somebody in generation, one generation, to get along with, or to understand, I should say, to understand a different generation from a communication standpoint? So what I'm always, what I'm always kind of running up against is when I hear people complain about their managers or about coworkers in the workplace, it's easy for us to assess and hear from the outside in the conversation, almost like a therapist, right? We can hear it, we can see it, and we know because we study a lot of this. But I feel like the 23-year-old doesn't quite understand where the 35-year-old is coming from. And there's always that one little thing. And there's something they're missing in communication. How do they, I know they're going to get this in the book, but what's the trick there? How do they address that?
I think that it, first and foremost, the goal there is to understand somebody else's perspective. And that is a hard thing to do, regardless of the relationship that you're in. Your best friend, your partner, your sibling, you name it. It's hard to be let me be in your shoes fully. Yeah. You could straight up ask, right? But that comes with a space of vulnerability and that person willing to open up and say, this is what's going on from my perspective. And so the way that I look at it is, the best thing you can ever do with anyone you work with, whether it's a client or any team member, is honestly spending just the time. And I call it am I allowed to say curse words?
Say whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I like that you asked.
We'll edit that shit out. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, I call it the shoot your shit time. It's just 5 minutes to just shoot the shit and talk about nothing about nothing, but everything at the same time, because you then understand that that's a person, and a real person with a pet, or a real person with a family, or something going on. And it makes it a lot easier to be hey, Susan, can I talk to you about that thing? I'm not fully understanding your motivation behind this. I just want to know what's going on, right? That is so much easier to diffuse a situation of tension when you don't understand the other person's perspective than being how dare Susan? Yeah. Susan is kind of making my life way harder than it needs to be.
She wants me to text her. Why am I texting? I don't understand.
And I do find that it's more important as an older, like member of an older generation, that we have to model what we want from younger generations.
That's right. That's right.
Very transparently. Like you have to say like, hey, young Gen Zer that's new to my workspace. I would love to spend like 15 minutes grabbing coffee, just learning about you. And then when you're like, I have no idea what this thing is that they're referencing, you can say like, hey, can you help me understand this? Like, I'm not fully getting it. Yeah. And I think that it's the willingness for older generations to say like, hey, I'm not fully understanding this, or I'm not understanding your perspective on this. Can you help me? Is a sign of like, I am older, I have more experience, I might be your leader, but I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Nor do I know everything. Then they go back to their friends and they say, this old guy over here.
Yeah. Stay away from him.
Where that question came from is because
his daughters.
I never, I am very old to my daughters. I never thought about the 19, 20-year-old in the way that you described it.
Yeah.
I know, and I think inherently I know it. Internally, I know it. I can process it that way. But I never looked at them as saying, they're just getting out of their parents' house. They're just learning how to actually build relationships and maybe shake a hand for the first or second time. Mm-hmm. They haven't done this. I'm just thinking, you've been through college. You're grown up. You can vote. Get on the horse and let's go. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that way, but I've never actually processed it the way that you
very much a Gen X way of thinking. Get in it and get in the game. You don't know how to figure it out? Go.
But y'all were handed literal keys to the house because your parents were working, and the rule was like, don't talk to strangers and don't blow this place up. And so you learned by failure a lot faster.
100%.
100%. That's my childhood.
Oh,
yeah.
Come in when the lights are when the lights turn on.
Yeah.
Get in for dinner. Usually you hear my mom screaming, out the door somewhere.
Hose. Yeah.
That's it.
That's normal.
It's like my brother is Gen X just barely, and like our upbringings couldn't have been more different. And like we were raised by the same two sets of humans.
That's right.
And like my mom will say like, I could tell your older brother 1,000 times not to do something, but he needed to learn by consequence on his own.
That's hot.
Me, on the other hand, she could be like, here's 3 consequences of if you do this, this will be a problem if you even think about it. And I'd be like, never, I'm good. Right? Like, so it's just very different, like raised, even households are like raised differently. Yeah. And I think when we have it, sometimes when it gets frustrating, be like, why are these young people like this? I'm like, when I was 19, I too was insufferable. I was a person that probably annoyed people. We had our own thing going on. We were wearing clothes that older people were like, this is bad. And everyone ages into it. Again, like we go back to that wave of like, we all churn and we become the people where we're like, why are the young people doing that? It's just going back and being like, because that's a part of growing up for them. And it was a part of growing up for you. And at one point you were nervous to be in the workplace and ask the question because you didn't want to seem like the dummy that shouldn't be there. And that's like this, it's easy to say like, oh, I remember when I was, without being like, back in my day, this is how things were.
All right. I'm going to take me to therapy session here, Megan, because I had this happen just this week.
Great.
One of my daughters got a job, went for an interview. She works a couple of jobs, but she wants to quit one. So she went for an interview at a high-end restaurant and she got the job. They gave her the job on the spot. They're giving her a shot. Fantastic. They told her, you need to be able to work and available for all holidays because it's a high-end restaurant and they need their staff. She accepts the job, comes home, and she gets up. She's like, I don't know if I can miss Memorial Day. I don't know about July 4th. I don't know about Halloween. I'm like, whoa, you're 17 now. Halloween? Like,
that's not a thing.
The first holiday is 4 or 5 months away.
Yeah.
Just work the job. Work the job. You may love it enough and make that much money.
Yep.
It's not going to matter. She couldn't do that. She had to craft an email, 3 different emails, and she let me see them, to send to the woman to say, I really want this job, but these are the times that I have plans, and I want to see if this is still a good job for me. She was not comfortable just working the job, knowing that come Memorial Day, she may bounce. She was not comfortable with that. Yeah. And the woman got back and said, thank you. I appreciate this. These aren't major holidays. Halloween, Memorial Day. Not a major holiday. You're good. We're talking about
Christmas, kiddo.
Yeah, we're talking Christmas, Easter.
We'll give you a Flag Day.
Valentine's Day. Yeah.
I get
You're
it.
good.
I think what's appreciated on both sides of that, right, is the person she was emailing was like, hey, thanks for the notification that this is a concern of yours,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, as
That's
a supervisor
acknowledgement.
manager, it's like saying like, okay, I'd rather know this now than get to Thanksgiving and you bail on me, right?
I looked at it. I told her, I said, if you send this email, that's as good as saying,
I don't want the job.
I don't want the job.
Yeah,
deuces. But that is, I'll say this like out loud, this is professional hazing that millennials and Gen Xers were sold, was like, you don't question authority because you will get fired. Like, we were told that so much growing up. And I actually really appreciate that Gen Z is like, I'm going to shoot my shot. Like, worst case is you say no. Like, the worst case was that your daughter
get another job.
Said no.
I need to apologize.
Stayed with her current job that she didn't really love, but was still employed.
How many jobs did we stay at that we felt like we just had to stay at?
Well,
like, there were other jobs, but we just stayed in. Bad manager, bad leadership, bad this, bad whatever. We're like, just tough it out. Yeah. Keep going.
Megan, if there's one clip in this entire show that's not going to get cut to go social, it's this part right here. I'm not showing her this.
No, you can't do that.
But I do need to apologize because you're right. You're absolutely right. This is the Gen X of me.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question about feedback. I didn't really study feedback until this is probably 2006 or 7, somewhere in there. Open floor plan office, right? So open space, no offices at all. Actually, we had one conference room, but other than that, 10,000 feet of just open space. And I have an intern working for me over the summer, and she's doing some writing for me. And she's at Texas Christian University, great gal. And so she would just kind of roll a chair up to my desk and just go, hey, quick question, this, that, and the other. And we'd interact like all was cool. And then she'd go and do her stuff, and I'd go back to work. One day, she comes and says, hey, Will, I got that article that I want you to look at. Pushed it across the table. And without looking up, and again, being in an open office, I'm not thinking about other people at all. I'm just thinking about this thing and giving her feedback. I'm like, this is the worst shit I've ever fucking read. Like, what were you, high? Like, and I'm running through the paragraphs, running through the sentences and all this stuff, word usage, all that shit, spacing's off, dumb stuff. And she starts crying. And it fucking broke my heart. Because it was the first time that I'm like, I need to adapt. I need to actually adapt to other people. It's not enough. I mean, some people can handle that and would like it that way. Most would not. And she definitely did not
How do you
excel
like your
there.
feedback?
And so that's where that came from, Brian. Mm-hmm. That's actually from that moment forward. I designed a feedback model that's either positive or negative on one axis, and it's either solicited or unsolicited on another axis. And I prefer negative solicited feedback. So from people that I actually care about, I want their feedback, but I only want the negative feedback. I don't want positive feedback. In fact, people that give me positive feedback, I usually think less of. So I don't like positive feedback. What I should have done in that instance is I won't say her name, but I've read this, cool, got it. How do you want me to just mark it up? You want to talk through it? Like, you want to how do you want this? To give her the consent of saying, yeah, I would like my feedback this way. Mm-hmm. And I'd have done it any way she wanted. I would have done it any way she wanted to. But after that moment in time, I changed. I had to adapt, and not had to. I chose to adapt to understand, like, you know what? So now I start with consent and communication styles and frequency and all of those things. Like you said, with all relationships, clients, all this stuff. It's like, how do you want to do this bit? And Ryan's heard me no less than 100 times. Usually it's with entrepreneurs. How do you like your feedback? They're like, oh, we want it rough and raw. We want it unvarnished. I'm like, okay, here we go.
People always say that, but I mean, I think that's so important because yes, there is some generational space to how we like our feedback, or there could be some generational trend, but some of it is so personal. Like it is truly just an individual communication preference. The through line though is people to some degree, regardless of generation, have pride in their work, and getting feedback on your work is hard because we have a personal pride. One of the reasons why people work universally that we found in our study was a sense of purpose. And so when let's go back to the example of the article that team member wrote, like she's writing this article, she had a sense of purpose in that moment. It was a point of pride, and she could have said, it's not my best. And thrown it out there and been like, I know
lowered the expectation.
Yeah. But sometimes people are really clacking away at an article and you're like, this is horrible. But to them, it's going to be the Pulitzer Prize, right? It's like, it's very different. Like, and it's not just like we're living in two different realities. I think the thing is, it's not only the individual interactions about feedback. I used to work at a place where they're like, we really value feedback. And like, no, I was like, no, y'all are addicted to feedback. And people would walk around and be like, can I give you feedback? And I would say, no. And they'd say like, why? And I was like, because I'm not in a headspace to ask for your feedback. If I wanted your notes, I would ask for your notes. And they're like, but, and I'm like, but it could get improved. I said, sure, that's your way of improving it, but I'm good, thanks. And I would keep it rolling, and it threw them in their tracks because I'd be I'm not in a mental space, nor am I in a productive space to receive your feedback.
That's and you also, knowing yourself. Yeah.
I don't know you very well. Give it to my boss. Like, give it to my boss who I love and would take a bullet for. Do not come to me in the coffee break room to say you need to give me feedback on a presentation I just did.
Yeah.
Like, and
I think
that
it's
was,
so
never goes
so arrogant to give people feedback that they didn't ask for. Like, it's like, it's just, there's an arrogance, a confidence maybe, but an arrogance to like, hey, let me tell you, and then
If you want to ruin somebody's day emotionally, do it. You want to make them emotionally withdraw, do that. And I mean, William, you'll remember this because we worked together at the time. We lost, at the previous company, William, we lost 2 employees because of me in that doing that exact thing. And it haunts me to this day. Like, it kills me. And one of them is going to be joining the network soon. Like, so, like, that's good. But the other one, I haven't spoken.
They didn't leave because of you. They left because they wanted to do that.
100%. 100%. Because it was, I didn't even give the feedback. It was like, just get out of my way and let me fix it.
Yeah.
That took me a while to really learn how to.
Very much a trait of our generation.
Yeah. Well, and it's I think a little bit of like, I like Gen X because like y'all have like a little bit of an edginess to you, right? Like it's like an edgy teddy bear. And with that
edgy teddy bear
is like the straight to itness. Like, let's get down to the business. Let's get it done. And if the feedback is a part of it, then sorry, like, but we got to get it done. I think with younger generations, like there is this, millennials are sensitive because we were told like, if you work your ass off, you're going to get ahead. And your job needs to be your whole identity.
Someone lied to you.
We were bamboozled.
You were sold a bag of goods.
We were bamboozled. We were. And so the millennials go into spaces thinking like, I have to work my ass off to get ahead. Yeah. This job is my life. I'm going to commit more than 40 hours a week because that's what other generations did, and they were fine. And then when things aren't going accordingly, we're like, but I'm working so hard and I'm putting my everything into this to still be behind. Like, and that is hard.
That's not add student loans. Add student loans and a couple recessions in there.
And you feel life or death. Like it feels life or death. And that's why I think millennials many of them have stuck into jobs where they're like, I'm underpaid. I'm probably not where I need to be. And I'm having an identity crisis about it. Or we're seeing an exodus of them being like, I'm out of here, corporate America. This was a joke. And it's interesting how it unfolds, but feedback is such a big part of like, I think is what makes or breaks good managers versus bad managers. Truly.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Ryan, I got one last thing. Do you have something?
Go for it.
So usually when you do research, there's something that kind of shocks you. Like you already give us one great thing of the tendencies of boomers and Gen Z having a little bit in common as it relates to the way they look at work or work-life balance maybe. Is there anything when you looked at the data at first and you went like, there's obviously something wrong with this. We didn't do this well. Like there's something we missed and it just shocked you, or anything that threw you off?
I wouldn't say anything that we're like, oh, we missed this or it shocked us. I think something that I was so curious to learn about was retirement and retirement planning, which sounds like dreadfully boring. But I do think it's like when you're thinking about people's end goal in life and what that looks like for them, it tells a lot about who they are. And when we think about a cohort,
Right.
and looking at this and kind of comparing, it's just a really interesting examination of human and human needs and what they're looking for in life in general. And so seeing where different groups are at with their mindset on retirement, the ages that they want to retire at, like not surprising, younger generations want to retire at younger ages than older generations. Baby boomers are holding on, and like the running joke is like baby boomers just need to retire and get out of the way. Sorry, actually, like if you know American history, they were actually behind on retirement because Social Security wasn't like fully up and running to the degree that it is when they started retiring. And like, yes, they have pension plans, but their categories of retirement were different than current generations were. Gen Xers are behind in retirement, but they've been at an interesting place because of the 2008 recession impacting them. Millennials, we talked about them in the economy, but Gen Z is saving for retirement like the Dickens. Like they are outpacing every prior generation in retirement saving. When you normalize for age, so like when you normalize, let's say millennials back to 25 and Gen X back to 25, Gen Z is just like putting it in the bank. And they're like, I would like to be done with this nonsense by 55. Thank you. So that was like surprising, but just, I think really fascinating because in no other realm of our studies were we really able to get into retirement. Like we were so focused on students and young people and like really that young adult phase of life. And I love that Gen Z is making retirement a young adult phase of life right now.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one. I loved it.
Drops mic, walks off stage. Meghan, thank you so much. Hey,
thanks for having me.
It sounds like a wonderful book. Thank you for creating that. There's obviously people are going to learn if they read it. So thank you for doing that. But also thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was fun and it flew by. And thanks for letting my cat drop by. I feel like she didn't introduce herself.
She's here, pre-COVID, we would have stopped the show and would put the cat in another room. And you know, COVID actually taught us like, people have lives.
She comes to every Zoom meeting, so she doesn't miss anything.
Part of the team.
She's very diligent, very diligent.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. All righty. So that's that. Now.